Okay.
We didn't want it released to the paper
Okay.
before the board made a
Yeah,
determination.
yeah. In order this evening, it is 6 p.m. We'll move to item 2.0, adoption of the agenda, and we do have an addendum.
Move to adopt with the addendum.
Second?
Okay, thank you. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda with the addendum. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 3.0, approval of minutes from the March 12th meeting.
Move to approve the minutes of 3:12.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve those minutes as written. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 4.0, consideration of bills and warrants.
Move to approve bills and warrants.
Second.
Questions or concerns over those bills and warrants this evening? Okay, moved and seconded to approve those. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 5.0, hearing of requests and suggestions of citizens and organizations. Is there anyone in the audience who is not already on the agenda elsewhere that would like to make a presentation to the board or speak to the board? Seeing none and hearing none, we will move on to 6.0, a special presentation by our teacher leaders. So come forth, all of you. We do not appear to have enough seats.
Oh, we got a plan.
You have a plan? Well, that's,
Believe it or not.
it's always good to have a plan.
That's right.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm Susan Dringenberg, an instructional coach for the district, and 8 of us from the district were allowed to go to Greenbush to the teacher leader cadre. And Linda invited us to come and just share some highlights with you so you'd have an idea of what it was about. And the point of it is professional development, a more efficient way to deliver it. So we get to go and then we get to bring back. And I added powerful professional development after I read what contributed. All 8 people contributed to the show tonight, which amounts to about 10 minutes. The types of things they picked to share were applicable to all grade levels, K through 12, and of course it was by Greenbush. So it was determined by one teacher per building, and then 3 instructional coaches. So the overall shared in learning for these folks, sometimes brought back to share with their entire staff, sometimes with their peers at grade level team meetings. Former employee of 503. So some of this is how to respond. They shared a color. This one is designed students promote each other's strengths and post all kinds of resources. And each of us were assigned to a group and had to present a technology tip to the rest of the group. Try to stretch us a little bit there. So welcome the elementary folks. First, come and kind of share what they did. I'm Jamie Newcomb. I'm a kindergarten teacher at Lincoln Elementary. Looking into different resources for growth mindset led us into the zones of regulation, which Reese has also started looking into a little bit. So that's how I have my kids check in the morning. We and talked about the different emotions and how they're feeling. So in the morning, they color card of how they're feeling. And so I can kind of go and talk to the ones that in red. Why are you mad? What can we do to make your day better? You know, or do you just need time to sit and think about it? What do you feel happy about? And so I started doing some yoga with the students as well. We talk about breathing techniques. When you're upset, what can you do? A lot of the kids will now stop it. You just stop it. And that's become a very important. So we do things that do a lot of pressure. We push on each other, we hug each other, do a lot of stretching to release some of that stress.
The student's next teacher about things that we know about the student, help them with a plan that will make that student help reach these students. I went to a trauma boot camp in Derby, Kansas. We as teachers, a community, and a school district need to change our mindsets. We need to become educated and aware of our growing needs in this community.
determine why an individual acts the way he or she does. Core motives are associated with primary colors of red, blue, white, and yellow. By identifying these core motives, it helps us better understand our own and others' strengths, limitations, and needs, which helps to foster positive relationships. These stronger, more positive relationships strengthen social and emotional learning. Doris and I had the teachers take the online assessment at Garfield prior to our grade level collaboration meetings. Then when we met, we shared those all out with each other, and we discussed Dr. Hartman's suggestions for working with and building relationships with each of the 4 colors. Although Dr. Hartman does have a color code personality test designed for adolescents, there is not an age-appropriate one for elementary students. However, the teachers noticed well enough to be able to recognize that awareness helps the students understand each other.
About growth mindset versus fixed mindset. The fixed mindset, everybody, either you're good or you're bad. You change it, it's just the way you're born, it's the way you are. Whereas in a fixed mindset, you believe that you can be good at anything. As long as you work hard at it, you can improve, you can get better. And a lot of times in our classes, when we also get parents involved, so we need to know on growth, great, as long as you can show improvement and you're growing, but that's what's important. In a growth mindset classroom, we do a lot of flexible seating to where, every kid learns differently. And so some kids want to sit, some of them want to lay down, some of them want to stand, things like that. We talked about, using a coaching method when you discipline, talking to them what they did wrong, how to improve. The judgment-free zone, kids work together, the teacher is always accessible to the kids. Just things like that, basically.
Thank you, elementary, appreciate it. And Kendra Vargas contributed to the presentation, but she's at a track meet with her son. I think she let you guys know
Yes.
that. So.
Hey, my name is Kathy Ward, and I teach sophomore English here at the high school. Slides I'm going to go over are for Kendra, since she couldn't be here, but we both learned the same in classroom. The fixed mindset is not significantly developed, but it can be developed through learning. How they learn is through their mistakes. Setting the bar a little bit higher, praising their efforts, encouraging risks, encouraging students to step out of that box and try something different. Okay, you can't do it this way, then let's step back, let's talk about it, and go around a different way about it. There's more than one way to make things happen. She has on here modeling her own struggle. You have to just show your students, I think, that you struggle too, that it's not just them. We learn new things all of the time. And it's important to know that we're just human too. Self-care. Identify your needs, take steps to meet them, take care of yourself. That's one thing we did learn at TLC. Teaching does take a lot out of us. We empty all day long, and we give and we give and we give. We forget sometimes to refill. So we can't keep giving every day, day after day, if we're not refilling. So that's one thing that we did learn over in at the TLC class. She talked about yoga in the classroom, how before testing, she does the benefits of yoga, and she said her kids responded really well to it, kind of getting them ready, get their oxygen going. The high school, I tried it with one class, they were like, okay, it's not cool for them. But she said the middle school students responded very well to the yoga in the classroom. Now, what I took back, one of the things I brought back from Greenbush was hope. They gave us a hope test, and we had to answer the questions and to see whether we had hope or not. I, however, am full of hope. I'm a very positive person. However, when I brought this back and gave it the hope test, what I did was, in my bell work for the morning, this was our bell work. They answer these questions. What does the word hope mean to you? What characteristics does a hopeful person have? Who is the most hopeful person you know? And let's talk about how you could be more helpful. So I gave them time to answer these questions. They do this, their bell work in a journal that is between me and them. Nobody else reads this information. And then we talked about whether they thought that hope could be learned. I was kind of amazed at how many of our students at 15 and 16 consider themselves to be hopeless already because of the high A scores that our students have. So what turned in from a 15-minute bell work turned into a 35, 40-minute discussion. And I told them, ways to become more hopeful, how they can look to remove themselves from those that aren't hopeful, that want to keep them down, refocusing on someone that is positive in their life and hopeful. And so I think that was really big in my classroom. And I also had the sophomores, grade level wise, took the personality test, helped me understand my students a lot better. Normally a student might come in and go, so what are we doing today? And I would always say,
new tools. If we look at the color code, colors have meaning in the electrical world. And, if you don't connect the right colors, you don't get the right connections. Things just don't work. And I think the color code really brings an understanding to the teachers that children have certain colors or personalities that we can actually kind of label and identify, and it helps us understand them better. So I think the color code is very valuable because, if anything, we need to begin to make those connections to help, it be meaningful. If we think of another tool in the toolbox, when it comes to self and student care, I thought of a chisel. We always need to chisel out some time for ourselves so that we can be better equipped. And, kids sometimes they don't know how to do that. They don't know how to stop and think about the good, positive things because life happens and it overwhelms them. And I think that self-care through yoga, a variety of different things can help us teach them to not only have optimism, but hope. When you're depressed, you don't think about anything that has to do with hope. Matter of fact, it's not even a part of your vocabulary. And I think as educators, we have to remind ourselves and our kids that we need to take time to hope, to be able to see what tomorrow might bring. Sometimes they can't see what tomorrow might bring, and we need to do that. Another tool that I think that we were given was the growth mindset. Too often, we hear it constantly that, I'm not going to amount to anything because somebody told me they have it's playing in their head all the time. And I think growth mindset, the understanding of that gives us the tools to, once again, it's always a tweaking in progress. You think of all the different tools, wrenches, things that are a little bit of this and a little bit of that. That's what life is, dealing with our children. It's constant correction. It's constant, stepping outside of the boundaries, trying new things. And in that process, it builds their confidence. And one key thing that our kids need more than anything today is resilience, to be able to step up to the plate again and go to bat every day, because failure happens. That is normal. And we have to teach them that it's okay, that happens to the best of us, but we don't give up and we keep going.
And the last one is the ACEs. And I thought of a plumb line or a level. Boy, those things can tell us real quick, like whether we're imbalanced, out of whack, skewed, whatever. And I think ACEs gives us that scale to determine where our kids are, to help understand what they're coming from, and then help us to determine how do we begin to problem solve and build a correction to that. Nothing's built overnight. It takes time, but I think that is a way that we can help because, you know, if anything, it's teaching our kids how to learn to deal with stress and be overcomers in that. And it's just picking yourself up every day, not quitting, moving forward, and knowing that it's okay if we have bad days. And I think in the end, it's just equipping our students to live in the now and for the tomorrow once they're outside of the classroom. And I think it was a very valuable, you know, we all know that there's different versions all the time in the technology world. And I think that we have some new tools to be able to help us deal with some of the new things that are coming into the classroom. So it was very well worth it. We had one of our ladies coin. It was her testimonial and we all concurred with it rather than, you know, adding to it. But just the amount of information that we've received has been amazing. And of course, we're now in the process of taking the time to utilize and incorporate it a little at a time. And if anything, here's the end result. I will continue to grow and change as I understand and use the information. And once again, a thank you from all of us giving us that opportunity to be able to bring more tools home to share with others. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Comments?
Hadn't got there yet,
Okay.
but I know you're raring to go.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. First of all, I want to compliment the staff for attending these meetings, being an advocate for adverse childhood experiences. I just think it's vital. I had a little conversation with Mrs. Prell this morning, and you need that information so you can understand what's going on with some of the students that we have. And we're not the only school district that's facing these issues. Tim DeWeese is the head of the mental health in Johnson County, and he puts, I'm a Twitter follower of his, and I did not know that Johnson County is the #1 county with the highest suicide rate in the state of Kansas. I thought it would be Labette or Cherokee, but it's not. So it's not just Labette County and Parsons that have issues, it's these other school districts also. But one of the other things, understanding the color codes and understanding social emotional needs, one of the things that I presented was it happened because this weekend when I was at the Youth Crisis Center, 21 foster care boys, and the situation was very, very tense this weekend. And I thought I was a veteran, seasoned teacher that knew how to de-escalate situations, but I didn't have all the tools that I needed. So I talked to Ernest Moreland, who's the head of the Youth Crisis Center, and I talked to Linda this morning. One of the tools that we're all going to need are those de-escalation techniques, because yelling and screaming and grabbing kids just doesn't work. So I want to find out myself, and hopefully you'll want to find out how do you do that, as well as how do you address conflict resolution. So I see on the bottom, you're looking forward to TLC 2.0. So hopefully that comes up. But I appreciate and applaud what you guys are doing. It's going to make a huge difference for our kids.
Now, do all of you get to go to 2.0, or will it be a new set of teachers, or?
That was the agreement if they came here, that it would be automatic. I mean, isn't that, do we vote on that now or what happens? And they're also looking to incorporate a smaller number, but to try to keep it going, you know, as we have staff turnover.
I think that's great, because I know you guys go back and share, you know, within collaboration or something, and that's always important to, you know, share with them what you're learning too, because that really keeps it going.
Yeah, and there were like 16 district representatives.
Also our District 9 rep. He'll present challenge awards for Garfield, 3rd grade, Etheridge, 4th grade reading, and 7th and 8th grade reading. So he has a little schedule he'll be around. April 24th is the preschool. Yes, he has, and I'll send out the times. He'll be at all 3 of them. It's the afternoon. That's a big deal. Yes, that is a big deal. And we'll get our picture in the paper too.
Great.
At 2207 North 10th, and it's really nice, isn't it? Happy with it. We heard an update on the cost of the renovation for the old building at Chestnut, which will be ready in August for the students. Victory Games and Little Victories will be April 20th in Cherryvale, and the Victory Games is getting ready for the Special Olympics, which is May the 2nd in Erie. The Little Victories is the preschool kids just come and play for an hour, but it's all, these are 3 things that we have that are really, the kids love them. The Gifted Expo is May 2nd in Independence also from 2 to 4. We approved a teacher apprentice program approved by the state. Emily McCambridge explained to us, and we all know this, how hard special ed jobs are to get. And they have, just this year in Tri-County, we had 9 positions open from resignations and retiring, 5 new positions based on programs and students. And with the recruitment and strategies, they've only filled 7. And so, special ed is just really hard to fill. And so this program, and you might help me, Linda, if they have a para that they know that they've had at least a year and they have to have an associate's, they can be part of this and you have an opening that in your school district, they can hire them as the teacher of record. Mm-hmm. And the principal would be their mentor. I mean, they'd have to have a lot of supervision, mm-hmm. but it would be a person that you really, really know would be a good teacher. And we've all had those, mm-hmm. in my teaching career, you just wish that you had an 8 or a pair and they'd be a real good teacher, but they would get 85% or 75% mm-hmm. of the base, mm-hmm. and health insurance, and it's through Wichita State University that they would get their degree, and it's only pre-K through 3.
Mm-hmm. They'd have to stay mm-hmm. only as high as 3rd grade. Yeah. It's called right. A unified license. But they said that they had talked to the superintendents about it, and all the superintendents, mm-hmm. Felt it was, definitely worthwhile. A good program. And so, I mean, we don't have, the only vacancy we have is at 4 or 5 at Guthridge. So we don't have anybody right. that could qualify, but right. maybe another year.
Mm-hmm. So who would help them write IEPs?
Tri-County would help mm-hmm. supervise
okay.
them. They would have lots of supervision, mm-hmm. but. And it's a last resort if they right. can't get it.
Yeah, a qualified teacher, certified teacher would always be the first choice, but many times, if mm-hmm. you have that special person and that and like you said, sometimes our good people leave us And it's a good way to get some person in the district that, you know would be a quality teacher.
Any other questions for Ms. Thompson? Thank you very much. Moving on to 9.0, reports from principals. High school report, Mr. Rogers.
And Mr. Freeze is out sick today, so he won't be here tonight.
Good evening. I just want to take a moment here to talk about some of the programs and accomplishments that we have had here recently. You know, we're in state competition time and nationals and things like that. So, I wanted to thank those that are involved with their time and effort to make these programs go. We have 3 students who received Outstanding Achievement Awards for their ACT scores. That means they got a 32 or higher. So we have 3 of those. And then the following state competition qualifiers, we had 2 band students qualify, 4 in debate. Our entire high school orchestra qualified. We also had 4 soloists out of orchestra qualify for state. We had 26 members of the music company and then 1 soloist. And then our JAG program took 19 kids to regionals. And out of those 19, we took 3rd as a team, which is really good for our JAG program. And 3 of those got to compete in what's called pre-state qualifying events, which means they essentially made it to state, but we won't know the results of those until early next month. We have 1 swimmer who's qualified for state. We have another swimmer who has a consideration time for state. So that's roughly 50 plus kids. It doesn't even include the ones that Mr. Wiles is going to talk about here in a minute with our HOSA program. So seeing huge dividends with these programs that we're offering. Our kids are doing a great job. Our sponsors are doing a great job. And then I just want to give a quick update on our honor flight. I want to thank those that came out to a very chilly fly-in and bike ride at the Beaumont Hotel this weekend. I don't have a total yet on the amount of money raised, but that's going to be a yearly activity for our honor flight program, which I think is really great. That's the first time I've been out there. It's a really neat place. I wish the weather would have been better. I mean, I think 2 planes came in and landed. Had a really difficult time taking off. I think it was on the news in Wichita on how hard it was for them to get back in the air because the wind was blowing so bad. But that's a really neat place. If you ever get an opportunity to go to that, we'll have another one next year where they have a buffet breakfast and the people fly in and there's raffles and things like that. So honor flight is ready to go. We've had some of the kids have said they've contacted their veterans. There's some other ones who are kind of playing phone tag and trying to get a hold of them. But it's going to be a good time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rogers.
I have my report and Mr. Cox's report. He's at a track meet in Columbus. Yeah. Okay, so they're all kind of. That's coming up. That's exciting for 7th and 8th grade.
He said,
special breakfast for our first graders. It took place the day before they started their state assessment. And so the second graders and their teachers participated. The second graders wrote inspiring notes of leadership also. Aid in the confidence that our community has in our Parsons schools.
So we have some exciting things coming up at Lincoln. Tomorrow, April 17th, we're going to participate in the Week of the Young Child at the high school.
Action to accept donations to schools.
And we have a mistake on this donation page. So the elementary PTO gave a donation to Graph's Classroom, $90. At Guthridge, Garfield Elementary, Labels for Education, $50. Interstate Studios, $710. Basket raffle brought in $235 at Garfield. Porcelain gave an incubator for Haley Kennett's classroom, $130. Osmo Learning Program, that's a $700 donation, and John Bolander gave $100 for that program. High school, an anonymous donation for the honor flight for $40. David and Kirby Ray, $100 for the Veterans Honor Flight, so I guess he met your challenge there, didn't he? Parsons Dental gave $100. Commercial Bank employees gave $230. Mike and Linda Castle gave $1,000. St. Vincent de Paul gave $1,000. Jim and Judy Ewing gave $100. Robert McHale gave $25. Charlie and Bobby Wilsey gave $25. And Neil and Pat Wilkerson gave $50. We have a grand total of $5,525 Perfectly. Yes, they already know proper board meeting and etiquette, yeah.
Well, I'm Kevin Wiles. I'm the co-sponsor of our Health Occupational Students of America. It's part of our career technical ed pathways, part of the health education, recognized by the state or the Department of Education on a national basis. So kind of a big deal. I brought 4 of 7 national qualifiers tonight. 3 couldn't be here, work, that sort of thing. And 1, I need to get back to work here pretty quick. They're going to tell you
Nothing like putting you on the spot.
So did you all collaborate on the video and all?
There was,
Us three did, and two other students who couldn't make it, and then Kylie worked on her own event.
Which
And
was
then-
research, medical writing and speaking.
Okay, so each student has a different individual event, or is it some group events that?
Well, some of the competitions are set to be a group competition, like the PSA.
Okay.
Others are individual, like research, medical research, writing and speaking, medical terminology, medical mathematics.
Because all over Twitter's PBL.
there would be their guys on hand, during the whole process. We would just do basically the grunt work. And we're taking, like their tech said, the sky blue sky out of it, the what ifs. We are the what ifs. If there's something there, we're going to take care of it.
And so the unit itself.
Replacing.
It's a 15-ton.
So is it a horizontal type unit?
Building out there, actual part of it outside on the median.
So is it heat pump type or is it gas?
It's gas. To be honest with you, I think it was just because we do have one that's kind of abandoned in place over on the closet that built about like it. The heater side went out of it, but when we did all the renovations for the cafeteria, we had the new unit, so we don't need that heat. So it's just extra air for the cafeteria, but unfortunately not the kitchen.
So this is your recommendation then to go with the design mechanical proposal as you were discussing then?
Yes.
Did I understand you to say 17,000 or 18,000 is listed here?
It's $17,844.
Okay. For the unit.
For the unit.
And then
itself.
we're going to end up paying them more down the road.
Yes, we're going to pay their time and materials. I talked to their tech the other day. He thinks it's going to be about a 4, maybe a 5-day job. And he says with probably 2 techs, it's between 5 and maybe 10,000 at the worst end of it. I mean, it's like everything else. You open up a can of worms, you don't know what you're getting into.
But our maintenance department will do all of the removal and, as he said, the grunt work.
What's the time frame to have it finished?
Just before school, well, actually before the Paint for Parsons project.
Gets in.
So that would be July 8th.
Okay.
And it takes a 5-week lead time to get this unit in, ordered out. So basically, as soon as school's out, would be nice to be starting on that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
Make a motion to.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the proposal by Mr. Ramsey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Ramsey, for your efforts on this.
Thank you.
As always. 10.3, action to change date of the regular board meeting in May. So you can,
Mike Castle will be gone, I'll be gone, and Mrs. Ray will be gone to the honor flight, so.
you guys are kind of important.
Thank you. So the 14th or the 23rd, which is the best for everybody? 14th.
14th.
Okay, I'll take a motion for the 14th then.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded to modify the currently scheduled board meeting on May 21st to May 14th, still commencing at 6 p.m. in this room. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Entertain a motion to enter executive session.
So moved.
I was going to say, well, he's not been acted upon. I'm going to talk to him. So.
Okay. We've got a first, second. Okay. Been moved and seconded that we go into executive session to discuss confidential employee information pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under Kansas Open Meetings Act. Discuss negotiations proposals with PNEA pursuant to the exception for employer-employee negotiations under Kansas Open Meetings Act. 7:01, 30 minutes, and the board return to this meeting at 7:31 in this room. All those in favor say aye. Aye.